Hello class, if you're watching this video, it's because I'm absent today and you have a substitute teacher. Please remember to be on your best behavior, be polite and helpful to our substitute teacher. Today you're going to read The Monkey's Paw, a short story by W. W. Jacobs. Before we begin, let's take a moment to look at the standards, essential question, and objectives you'll cover in this lesson. Today you'll determine a theme or central idea of text and analyze in detail its development over the course of the text, including how it emerges and is shaped and refined by specific details. You'll provide an objective summary of the text. Use precise words and phrases, telling details, and sensory language to convey a vivid picture of experiences, events, setting, and/or characters. The essential question today is, how is conflict expressed through language? And I want you to consider not only the man versus society conflicts at play here, but also consider how Indian culture is represented by a British author. Today you'll learn new vocabulary words, you'll analyze the character's structure, style, tone, and content of the story The Monkey's Paw, and you'll practice your writing skills. Let's take a moment to consider the background of the story, the author, and the context. The Monkey's Paw was written by W. W. Jacobs at right around the turn of the century. The story doesn't take place in India, but it involves a talisman that comes from India. Before we read, take a moment to consider what images come to mind when you think of India. Write in your journals at least 10 images that come to mind when you think of India. So now that you've had a few moments to record your thoughts about India, let's just do a quick Google search of images of India, just to give us something to think about while we read. First, we'll just search the word India, go for images, and this is what comes up. You can take a moment to reflect in your journal about these images for more points. Okay. Let's Google the phrase Indian people. Okay. Let's Google the phrase Indian culture. Of course, you can pause the video if anybody wants to take a closer look at any of the images. Okay, we'll Google the phrase Indian food. If you've ever had Indian food, you can reflect on that in your journal. Be as specific as possible using sensory imagery, taste, smells, appearance. Okay, and then I'll Google Indian architecture. Okay, so W. Jacobs wrote this story around the turn of the century. It's a horror short story, so it's meant to be scary or shocking. And let's look at the context, or some of the context provided by Shmoop.com. Herbert is one of the characters in the story. About India, it says, like Herbert's workplace, India is heard about but not seen in the story. In 1902, India was still part of the British Empire. See the additional resources for information on the British Empire and its influence on Indian culture. Because of the British presence and influence in India, the British public had been exposed to information about India, much of it faulty or untrue, for some time, mostly from British people who spent time there. The fact that the monkey's paw supposedly comes from India reflects the public's fascination with India, its embrace of stereotypical representations of people from India, and an eagerness to believe that Indian and other foreign traditions would cause problems if introduced into Western societies. Some of these ideas are also explored in the extended reading at the end. The author Chinua Achebe, who wrote Things Fall Apart, writes about how British people tend to depict non-Europeans in their fiction. So perhaps it would be worth taking a moment to think about how the images we imagine of India may influence how we read this story. So as usual, we're reading a story that's full of new vocabulary words. Let's start off with a vocabulary preview so we can recognize the words in context when we see them. We have 20 vocabulary words for this story. Make sure you get these words in your notebook or directly onto your flashcards. We'll have a quiz on these words in about 5 school days. Okay, as we know, a great way to study vocabulary words is to use flashcards. I'll use the software here on Quizlet to read the cards to us one time through.
Placid, pleasantly calm or peaceful. Amiable, having or showing pleasant, friendly personality. Desirous, having desire or strong want for something. Condoled, to express sympathy with a person who is suffering sorrow, misfortune, or grief. Rubicund, red or reddish, ruddy. Proffered, to put before a person for acceptance, offer. Fakir, a Muslim or Hindu religious person. jarred. To have a harsh, unpleasant effect on one's nerves, feelings, thoughts, etc. Presumptuous. Unwarranted or impertinent boldness. Fancy. A caprice, whim, vagary. Doggedly. Persistent in effort, stubborn. Talisman. Anything whose presence exercises remarkable or powerful influence on human feelings or actions. Enthralled. To captivate or charm. Maligned. To speak harmful untruth about, slander. Dubious. Of doubtful quality. Credulity. Willingness to believe or trust too readily. Marred. Damaged or spoiled. Frivolous. Characterized by lack of seriousness or sense. Broach. To mention or suggest for the first time. Apathy. Absence or suppression of passion, emotion, or excitement.
Okay, so of course the link to these cards will be available on the Edmodo website. You can use them in all the games that are available here on Quizlet to help you study for the quiz. For this journal activity, you'll be responding to the Reading Writing Connection activity from page 31 in your textbook. The monkey's paw in this story is a mysterious object that can grant wishes and change events. However, the characters are warned that there will be consequences. Another way of stating this is, be careful what you wish for. Write 3 reasons why you would or would not make a wish in this situation. Use at least 3 of the following words: alter, complicate, evaluate, and intervene. You may use the available dictionaries to look up words. Make sure in your journal response that you write 3 reasons why you would or would not make a wish in this situation. 3 reasons. And make sure you use at least 3 of these words: alter, complicate, evaluate, and intervene. Students may follow along in their textbooks beginning on page 32. The teacher can also use the text copy provided on Edmodo to project the story on the smartboard as you read. Students can also use this available copy to annotate as they study at home, highlighting important words and phrases as they go. Now that you've finished reading the selection, take a moment to answer the questions from page 42 of your textbook. Students should take the next several minutes to take turns reading the following questions aloud. Students may discuss the questions with one another and the substitute teacher and start drafting their answers, which they'll complete for homework. Answers to these questions are due tomorrow, and again, you can access the full text of the story, this video, handouts, and extra resources on our Class Edmodo website. Thank you.